I done somehow managed to turn the phone off. But anyways, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania is about a 47-minute drive from where I live. And I come here every so often commutely to go to CDL school. Now, those of you who know about truck driving and all that, there's not really much going on out there for the younger guys who are under 21 per se. Not that they're not out there, but it definitely is a struggle. I've already been looking before I even got into this game, and it's quite the challenge. It is quite the challenge. It feels like a 9 to 5 already just looking. But, you know, you live and you learn. I've been through a lot of other situations right now currently that have just been, you know, just eye-openers and lessons for, you know, ignoring what our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has to offer. And for me, being a Christian, knowing better and still choosing to do the opposite, I'm not surprised what happened to me. But you see, decided to keep me still living strong, and no drastic life changes due to you know, let's just say the lust word. How about that? We'll just put it at that, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But aside from that, you know, this is just, I wanted to, you know, talk to God a little bit about, you know, maybe I might just start a little community here on YouTube or any platform for that way, you know, just to bring you guys on my journey for what's in store for my life, and at the same time, you know, magnify God for that, because at the end of the day, what really matters is building the kingdom of heaven. You know, building God's kingdom is what we're called to do as believers, and, you know, failing to do that is not the worst thing, but it definitely is not, you know, if you're doing the opposite of that versus what we ought to be doing, then that's the problem. But other than that, exactly, you know, you should be one to direct people towards God before you direct them the other way. You know, so there's that. Finish putting air in this tire. Should be able to hear it beat once it's done. Where we at with it? Okay, it was this tire that was low. So you're already set to 35. Oh, okay, that was quick. So yeah, if you guys are familiar with the Bloomsburg area, this is where I'm located. I'm sure if you've been here before, you know exactly where I'm at. I-80 is that way, so. I hope I didn't just break any of my mirrors just doing that. Okay, you didn't, but you're really close to doing so. Okay, that should get us through today. Now that's getting cold, I'll probably be back here, either here or in my hometown with doing this. So winter, here you come, and I'm ready for you. We are currently about maybe 2 miles away from the school. So with that being said, you're probably gonna connect to my car. Hold on. Okay. All right, well, whether you connect to the car or not, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, so we are headed now to the school where the magic happens. So today I am on my drive 8, I believe, and that drive, the instructor, he calls it ramp running or ramp rushing, ramp jumping, something like that. And I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. You kind of just learn how to upshift, downshift on these off ramps and on ramps. You know, you learn to drive a manual truck. You're in control of the whole entire truck, and it's every move and speed and all that. So it's best to get this stuff out the way and learn it. Of course, going the automatic route would have been a lot more simpler. You know, you kind of get in it. It operates somewhat mostly as like a car. You still have, you know, your same number of things. Only difference is you're in control of the gears primarily. So there's that. But yeah, just a little bit about me. So like I said, I'm 19. My name's Malachi Coleman. You guys can call me Spiv, S-P-I-V. And you know, for the 19 years I'm alive, I'd say about maybe when I was 9 years old, I thought about, you know, is heaven really real? You know, my mom's sister had passed away in a car accident in 2014, and I was questioning, like, is she really up there? And I didn't give much thought to it, but I think maybe a little bit after that, I went and got baptized. I was a kid. I mean, I did it kind of just because it was fun. It looked cool. But other than that, I got baptized. I knew not primarily what it was about, but I didn't like it. I never felt anything or did anything, to where I felt that conviction when I did it. As a kid, yes, you do know when certain things are right and wrong, but I mean, at that age, I was literally like mostly just going outside, climbing trees, playing football in my dad's yard. So, in other words, I didn't know what it really meant to, to feel that for Christ and have that heart-to-heart felt moment with him, especially just at that age. I'm a young kid. Not that it can't be felt, but for me, and I'd say for that average life like that, you just don't. But and then once I got to my sophomore year in high school, I decided, I'm actually going to get serious about this thing. Maybe I think I've learned enough. I learned a lot about it. I've always been brought up into it, and I've seen it happen in my life. I've seen what happened in my life. I've seen what God has done already in my life, and I think that now is at 19 years old is the time to make that full step in commitment. Those of you who know, there ain't much time left on this earth. No matter what you're doing, no matter what you got, whatever car, drive, truck, whatever you drive, it's best to just set your heart on Jesus Christ and not these worldly possession things. Yes, it'd be amazing to have those things, but the Bible does say, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will add those things to you. So, I'm not driving my dream truck right now, but I'm driving something. This works good. It's getting me point A to point B. I'm keeping up on it, and it's warm. I got working heat. Engine light's not on, so my seatbelt light is on. But other than that, yeah, I really hope my insurance company doesn't see that. But so yeah, and then so once I got to high school, I went to high school in St. John Newman Regional Academy, Catholic school. Now I wasn't Catholic, but it was a familiar transition. All my siblings went there. I was the last one to leave Williamsport School District, and by the time I got to high school, that was it. My mom had me believe I was going to Williamsport, and 2 weeks before school starts, she lets me know, hey, you're going to St. John Newman. And then I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to wear a uniform to school every day. I want to dress nice. All it took was for me to finish my freshman year, and I was so glad my mom did that, But even without me wanting to, hardly letting me know about it, there's some ways the way God works, Just this morning, driving over Route 15, the way I know that the whole mountain is foggy on 15 South, it wasn't, you can't see the mountains. And I just let you know that the fog is intense. If you can't see the mountains, when I leave out of Williamsport, it is 5:40 in the morning, and it's dark. Especially since it's getting cold, it's dark in the morning. So, if I can't see like just a solid black, mountains in the background, because you can't see the green, it's just too dark. But if I can't see solid black, it's not. It's foggy. You ain't gonna see nothing over that mountain. But I sat and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I may not be able to see nothing right now, but if I get behind one of these semi-trucks going over the mountain, I can just stick behind him. So I did that, and it was only foggy when you passed the Little League World Series Museum, and it wasn't that foggy. And then as I'm driving, going over this mountain the whole way back into the outback of Allenwood, it wasn't foggy at all. I was honestly paranoid for no reason. So, but it just gave me a little bit of revelation, walk by faith and not by sight. It looks dangerous, it looks unsatisfying, it looks like you can't do it, and so you can't make it. But you put your trust in God, man, you take you farther than what you think you could have went. But yes, so now, I'm currently 19. I've been through some bad relationships. Not bad, I can't say, because they weren't bad for me. They were just either I wasn't ready for them, or I just didn't realize what the full picture was in terms of what it means to settle down. Get that junk off your phone, get that, and you want to do that for yourself. But at the same time, especially when you're with somebody, and you don't really know what they really feel like about their thoughts. You're never gonna be in somebody else's head, but you can get to know them. But as well as you know them, you're never gonna know them better than Jesus knows them, or they know themselves. So as far as that is, You know, kind of just, I've been reflecting on that the past couple of days, and recently, right now, I'm going through a little bit of a humbling moment. God's teaching me, you know, about, you know, what my own actions do to good relationships and people, and um, what my primary focus is. You know, my primary focus has hardly been on Him the past couple of months, and I just seen a whole shift in my life. You know, I when I stopped reading a lot, I didn't stop going to church, but you know, it's different. You know, when you're not at that intimacy with Him on your own in your own headquarters, you know, you kind of don't have the connection. It's almost like, you know, when you're home. You know, when you're home, that's your real you. On your regular day to day at home, that is you. You know, your thoughts, your mind, your actions, the way you walk around, carry yourself, however, that's you. The way you look at yourself in the mirror, that is you. I'll let you guys know, you guys are fearfully, wonderfully made. Don't forget that, all right? A lot of people got some insecurities, but, you know, you don't got to believe what everybody else say. Somebody want to say something about you, words hurt, all right? I ain't going to say words don't hurt. Power, life, and death is in the tongue. And I ain't going to say that this stuff don't hurt, but it do. But I'm telling you right now, don't let Satan use other vessels and people to get to you. It's pretty much that. So currently today, I'm in rebuild mode. You know, had some moments where I had to go back. Now I'm back to where I started from, and it's just rebuild mode from here. You know, I'm thanking God I actually got this opportunity here with these trucks, and we're gonna keep it flowing. So like I said, those of you who don't know, I live in Pennsylvania. The closest school to me, to my living area, that I heard of. You know, there's other schools maybe, but this one is pretty limited. It's only two, and the one I never really heard about, this one I heard about. So I was directed here. Sage Truck Driving School in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Great school. Obviously, if you're going for CDL, it's going to be a little pricey, but it's not. It's better than, I ain't going to say it's better than, but I mean, as opposed to that, you get into one of these trucks, making some good money out here versus, you know, college debt. But that's my opinion. Not everybody's the same. But, so, like I said, this is my drive 8. So, I believe. So, it's not parking today, which I wish it was parking, since that seems to be my problem right now. But, yeah, so this is I don't know what year. It's definitely not one of the newer ones, but this is an old Walmart truck, it looks like. And they just put Sage Truck Driving School on there. And so, old Freightliner Cascadia. Nice truck. Not bad. This over here is Bertha. She's been through it, as you can see. But she still gets the job done. She does not have a DEF tank, so she is just straight diesel. But, you know, obviously they're both Freightliners. This one's probably from the year I was born. This one's probably from the year my little sister was born. So between 2003 and 2011, it's sitting in between me. This truck right here, the older one, has a spring clutch. Those of you who drove a spring clutch before, you know what that can be like on your legs. This one right here does not have a spring clutch, but the clutch is a lot softer. I'm honestly not familiar with clutches this is, but it definitely is in the spring. And then this right here is the lovely automatic, the International Pro Star. It is definitely, it's a nice truck, but not my preferred. So, or International LT. I don't think it's a Pro Star, but it's LT. So this is the automatic. Obviously somebody was here parking this thing, or they must have just left it yesterday. But, so yeah, this is kind of where I'm at. I probably start in about 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and I will see you guys probably when I'm doing my pre-trip.